Happy
Ain't my birthday.
Happy birthday.
It's not my birthday. Oh.
I know, but happy birthday. Oh. Hello. Hi, 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 hi. How are you? Hello. Hi, Curie. Hi, Say. Hello, hello. Hi, Soy. Hello, hello. How are you? Gutenberg. Hi, 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 hi. Ah, hey, Sova Minsolfen. Not sure what that means. Right. Now, today we're going to try to finish the book, but I don't know if I can. I'll do my best, but I can't promise anything. So we shall see. Noah came with her writing pen. Yes, 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 yes. Well, no, no, no. I came with my reading face. Reading eyes, reading glasses. If you read like super fast, you might be able to do it. Yeah, it might be. Like if I go it might happen. The reading pen. The reading pen. I don't think that exists. But you wear glasses? Whoa! I mean, yes, actually I do. Not when I stream though, because when I stream with glasses, it can't see my eyes properly. So it usually like doesn't see me blinking or something silly like that. So usually I do not wear my glasses. Yes. Dabu 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 da. She's such a nerd wearing glasses. Ew. You literally wear glasses. This is crazy. The gaslighting that's coming out of this man's mouth. Read as fast as you read the end poem. What do you mean? Oh, I usually read the end poems really fast. This is true. It's because it's like, I'm not really a poem fan. Let's get a fireplace going. But how is everyone? How was your weekend? I played WoW for 6 hours yesterday. Absolute degeneracy. But now I'm chilling, so it's all good. I've been giga tired and I'm still... Oh goodness, this seems to be a daily report. Not very good. Not very good at all. And you're gonna play for 6 hours? No. I'm not playing the 6 hours tomorrow. I'll play 4 max. Amen. Thank you very much. I need to utilize as much as my last week as possible. Because Koopsie's parents are coming over as well, so I'm spending time with them too. So that's already a chunk out of my time. So I gotta utilize it properly, you see. Yeah, 6 hours on a WoW stream. No, you guys would hate that. You guys hate WoW. Like, that's crazy. Now, how do I get rid of this? What happens when I log off? Oh, let's not do that. Cancel. Sorry, I almost shut off my PC. That was not a good idea. Hi, Puma, how are you today? What did you get up to in WoW? It was one of Koopsie's friends. He organized an event where we basically do a bunch of challenges in TBC, and this was supposed to be an introduction to TBC to get us to play together, but I don't actually know how much I'm going to be able to play. But yeah, it was basically stuff like, you know, first to loot a chest, or first to get a green item, first to do the Hoggers quest, first to get to 50 in a profession and all that, like stuff like that. And then the end, we then did a duel to decide more points, and then the winner got £5. I don't actually know, like, it's not the £5 that you get, but like it's an item that costs £5. So I'm guessing it's gonna be a t-shirt or something. Wrong, I like WoW. Puma is naked. Wait, wow. What do you mean they're naked? What? And I'm okay, Puma. What about you? I'm chilling today. Well, I'm chilling every day because I've not been working for more than a month. I feel very unemployed. But I am employed, I promise. Puma is streaking. Oh, no. No. You misunderstood. Don't worry, they're not naked. You're safe. It's all good. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to stream it without doxing myself. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to only do the sounds of the fireplace, if that's okay. If you're all chilling with that, then I'm chilling with that. I've had a great day so far. Worked out at 7, bought groceries on the way home, went home to shower, clean the kitchen, ruin my economy for the foreseeable future with 1 avocado sandwich. Nice. Worked for a couple of hours, lunch, worked some more, then chilled, dinner, more chill, now I'm here. That sounds like a really productive day. I'm so glad. That sounds really good, dude. No, that's okay. It's all or nothing. it's no, I'm saying like it's nothing. It's nothing. Like they're not naked. Don't worry. Don't be scared of naked people. It's okay. But yes, I'm putting up my hair because we're being serious right now. We're seriously going to read this book right now. But what did you do in the weekend though? What did everyone do in the weekend? What did you guys do? Because I played WoW, and I played another game on Saturday as well. I played Green Hell. Now Green Hell is basically the forest, but like Amazon style. So like the forest is more of like a Sweden forest or something. You know, like a European, not like tropical or anything. But this, what a tropical place. And there's so many things that can kill you. Like in the forest, you get killed by cannibals. But in this game, you get killed by bloody everything, okay? You can poison yourself. You get bitten by a snake. You get, like, you touch a frog and you die. You know, stuff like that. Yeah. I can't say I enjoyed it very much. I don't like things being difficult. Wait, I'm so confused. Do I usually just do it over here? I do. Okay, there we go. But yeah, it sounds like my house is on fire, but this is just the fireplace background. Can you hear the fireplace background? Oh, how did you like Green Hell? Yeah, well, I liked it, but I didn't like it. Like, it was just, yeah, the forest, it was a bit, like, better. I liked it because it was difficult and had a lot of intricate survival mechanics. Yeah, no, I didn't like that. I like my games unrealistic and less difficult. But it was also just, yeah, I don't know. I feel like the forest just overall just looks better as well. But I suppose, yeah, it was more realistic with like what you were supposed to eat and what is like dangerous and stuff and what's like herbs and all that, and yeah, but I prefer the forest. I feel like it's a bit of a ripoff of the forest. I'm gonna be honest. It's still different in some ways, but it reminds me very much of the forest. Also, when you die, everything like spills out. So it's not in a bag, which is really annoying because it's like all over the place. I got killed so many times by that fucking leopard, man. I hate him. I have a personal vendetta with that leopard, dude. He was pouncing on me like every chance he got. Outrageous. Don't be scared of naked people. Sounds like something a naked person would say. I'm not naked. Don't worry. I also like my games unrealistic, like The Sims, where you can afford a house. I know. It's so real. And by snakes and cannibals and starving and diseases. Yeah. I don't mind cannibals. Actually, that's one thing as well. The cannibals in the forest are way scarier because they get like bonkers. You'll have like a worm looking thing and then this like ginormous thing and many limbs like everywhere. Yeah. I'm glad I tried it though. My friend really wanted to try it. And so we did. I don't mind cannibal. Wait, I don't mean in real life. In real life, that's really bad. But I mean, like, annoyance levels is, like, less. Because in the forest, they kind of just scream at you. And if you run far enough away, they'll go away. You know? Unless they're mutants, then probably not. The cannibals are my least favorite. I like the survival and bushcrafting stuff. I don't want to get bothered by jerks with face paint. Honestly, I don't mind. Well, I do mind them. I like the chilling. But to be fair, on the forest, you can put it on peaceful mode so you don't have any cannibal enemies. So you do have that option. I often do forget that I'm playing a survival game when I'm playing the forest. I'll just be chilling, getting all the food and building my little house, looking at the stream, and then all of a sudden like a cannibal pops out and I'm like, oh yeah. There's actual enemies here, yes. But it's so fun. Yeah, the forest is so much superior. Yes. Anyway, very happy to hear from you guys. I'm gonna try to read as much as possible today, so I'm gonna try to be concentrating on this today. So I'm gonna try to minimize the chatter, but please do feel free to still message, of course. But I'm just gonna like try to prioritize reading. You should try this game called Minecraft, lots of building, very little survival. I have tried that game actually. I played it this weekend as well actually. Oh, only a little bit though, not very much. Right, here we go. Oh, I also got my textures working. Oh, I'm so happy. Oh, it took me ages. But then I figured out the reason it wasn't working is because I needed another mod to make that work. And then I installed it and suddenly it worked. What a wonder. Yippee. Hi, Wiseman. How are you today? Hello. I'm playing it right now. Nice. I would say I'll play it after this, but I probably won't because I'll be done with the stream really late. And I'm trying to get back to work time mode as I'm working again next week. So I need to sleep at 11:30. So, yeah. God, I hope you didn't choose ugly textures. That's so rude. No, I didn't. And I love the textures. I'll show you if I've got time after reading. I'll show you. But yeah, anyway, here we go. Yeah, tell me about your weekend, wise man. How are you? All was again silent, but his words rang in my ears. I burned with rage to pursue the murderer of my peace and precipitate him into the ocean. I walked up and down my room hastily and perturbed? I don't know what that means. While my imagination conjured up 1,000 images to torment and sting me. Why had I not followed him and closed with him in mortal strife? But I had suffered him to depart, and he had directed his course towards the mainland. I shuddered to think who might be the next victim sacrificed to his insatiate revenge. And then I thought again of his words, I will be with you on your wedding night. Oh my God, he's gonna be the bride. That's what I reckon is gonna happen. That, then, was a period fixed for the fulfillment of my destiny. In that hour I should die and at once satisfy and extinguish his malice. The prospects did not move me to fear, yet when I thought of my beloved Elizabeth, of her tears and endless sorrow, when she should find her lover so barbarously snatched from her, tears, the first I had shed for many months, streamed from my eyes, and I resolved not to fall before my enemy without a bitter struggle. Hi, Bristati, how are you today? Hello, hello. She's bad at Minecraft parkour, but Iron carried. Hey, yeah, I'm bad at parkour everywhere. Parkour is really hard. Played some Palworld, got all hyped up after seeing that new trailer. Oh, nice! Epic. Anything else? Did you do anything with friends like usual? I really don't remember if I did anything mentionable this weekend. Probably just chilled and played games. Well, that's what I did. Actually, me and Koopsie also went for lunch/coffee yesterday as well. We had some matcha and a bit of onigiri with miso soup and some pickled veg. It was delicious. It's my favorite place, one of my favorite places here. To sit down. It's so cozy. It's so nice. I know it's Japanese and like maybe that makes me weep, but like it's not my fault that that's the best quality in town, okay? I didn't make the rules. I really don't remember. And during the weekend, me and the lady friend had quite an unfortunate event as our internet decided that we've had enough of My Hero Academia for one day and got super laggy in the middle of an episode. Yikes. Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, I hope you still had fun. Also, her parents decided to pop up at Sunday for coffee. Her mom also did some chores around there. Oh, is it a bit awkward? This is understandable. Right, let's continue. The night passed away, and the sun rose from the ocean. My feelings became calmer, if it may be called calmness, when the violence of rage sinks into the depth of despair. I left the house, the horrid scene of the last night's contention, and walked on the beach of the sea, which I almost regarded as an insuperable barrier between me and my fellow creatures. Nay, a wish that such should prove the fact stole across me. I desired that I might pass my life on that barren rock, warily, it is true, but uninterrupted by any sudden shock of misery. If I returned, it was to be sacrificed, or to see those whom I most loved die under the grasp of a daemon who I myself created. I walked about the isle like a restless spectre, separated from all it loved, and miserable in the separation. When it became noon and the sun rose higher, I lay down on the grass and was overpowered by a deep sleep. I had been awake the whole of the preceding night. My nerves were agitated, and my eyes inflamed by watching and misery. The sleep into which I now sank refreshed me, and when I woke, I again felt as if I had belonged to a race of human beings like myself, and I began to reflect upon what had passed with a greater composure. Yet still the words of the fiend rang in my ears like a death knell. They appeared like a dream, yet distinct and oppressive as a reality. The sun had far descended, and I still sat on the shore, satisfying my appetite, which had become ravenous, with an oaten cake, when I saw a fishing boat land close to me, and one of the men brought me a packet. It contained letters from Geneva and one from Clerval, entreating me to join him. Hello, Bogdan. How are you today? Hello, hello. How was your weekend? He said that he was wearing away his time fruitlessly where he was, that letters from the friends he had formed in London desired his return to complete the negotiation they had entered into for his Indian enterprise. He could not any longer delay his departure, but as his journey to London might be followed, even sooner than he now conjectured, by his longer voyage, he entreated me to bestow as much of my society on him as I could spare. He besought me, therefore, to leave my solitary isle and to meet him at Perth, that we might proceed southwards together. This letter in a degree recalled me to life, and I determined to quit my island at the expiration of 2 days. Good, thanks. That's great, Bogdan, I'm glad. It went quite well, actually, though Mom did tell me to make sure the Christmas tree gets dismantled and packed away before they left. Really, I see, that's fair. Yes, that is outrageous that the Christmas tree is still up. To be fair, we still have the Christmas trees around as well. Koopsie just doesn't want to get rid of them. He's like, no, we're leaving them, and I think that's outrageous. Absolute heresy, but okay. Yeah, I need to dismantle it as well soon. Yes, indeed. Procrastination took the better of me. It is a lot of work to, like, take down and everything, so I understand. Don't worry, it's a heavy task, Soy. Yet, before I departed, there was a task to perform, on which I shuddered to reflect. I must pack up my chemical instruments, and for that purpose I must enter the room which had been the scene of my odious work, and I must handle those utensils, the sight of which was sickening to me. The next morning at daybreak I summoned sufficient courage and unlocked the door of my laboratory. The remains of the half-finished creature, whom I had destroyed, lay scattered on the floor. Ooh. And I almost felt as if I had mangled the living flesh of a human being. I paused to collect myself, and then entered the chamber. With trembling hand, I conveyed the instruments out of the room, but I reflected that I ought not to leave the relics of my work to excite the horror and suspicion of the peasants. That word is so silly. And I accordingly put them into a basket with a great quantity of stones, and laying them up, determined to throw them into the sea that very night. And in the meantime, I sat upon the beach, employed in cleaning and arranging my chemical apparatus. No, heresy is the fact that you don't want to keep it up. I'm with Koopsie on this one. No, but the whole point of the Christmas tree is that it's not something you always have. It's like a special occasion thing. So if you always have it up, then it's not a special occasion anymore. Then that's just everyday life. That's like having your birthday every single day. It's not going to be like special anymore. You understand? So there. Like, I love Christmas as much as the next person, but you gotta make it special. Nothing could be more complete than the alteration that had taken place in my feelings since the night of the appearance of the daemon. I had before regarded my promise with a gloomy despair as a thing that, with whatever consequences, must be fulfilled. But I now felt as if a film had been taken from before my eyes, and that I for the first time saw clearly. The idea of renewing my labors did not for one instant occur to me. The threat I had heard weighed on my thoughts, but I did not reflect that a voluntary act of mine could avert it. I resolved in my own mind that to create another like the fiend I had first made would be an act of the basest and most atrocious selfishness, and I banished from my mind every thought that could lead to a different conclusion. Do you put candy in the tree so you get to eat the candy when you take it down? No, I don't. Do you? That actually sounds really fun. I should do that. Interesting. Very good idea. 1 point. Say 1 point. Yes, very good. Between 2 and 3 in the morning, the moon rose, and I then, putting my basket aboard a little skiff, sailed out about 4 miles from the shore. The scene was perfectly solitary. A few boats were returning towards land, but I sailed away from them. I felt as if I was about the commission of a dreadful crime, and avoided with shuddering anxiety any encounter with my fellow creatures. At one time, the moon, which had before been clear, was suddenly overspread by a thick cloud, and I took advantage of the moment of darkness and cast my basket into the sea. I listened to the gurgling sound as it sank, and then sailed away from the spot. The sky became clouded, but the air was pure, although chilled by the northeast breeze that was then rising. When it refreshed me and filled me with such agreeable sensations that I resolved to prolong my stay on the water, and fixing the rudder in a different position, stretched myself at the bottom of the boat. Clouds hid the moon, everything was obscure, and I heard only the sound of the boat as its keel cut through the waves. The murmur lulled me, and in a short time I slept soundly. That's an old tradition, at least here. I always put candy in the tree, but I usually end up eating it all before Christmas. So I know. Now, if you keep it up, you have less decorating and work next year. This is a big help. Plus, it reminds you that Jesus died for us on the cross every single day we see it. Yes, yes. What? Why do you want to be reminded of that? Very interesting choice. Very weird. Friends' parents had some candy canes put up in their Christmas tree. Oh, I don't actually really like candy canes. Maybe I've just not had good candy canes. Who knows? candy canes, and we make like little decorations out of silk paper and old toilet paper rolls and put candy inside. Interesting. Ideally, you put one of those tiny firecrackers inside with a string on, so when you pull them apart, it pops. Damn, they're called smalkarameller. Ah, caramel. Ah. Small. Is it small or small? Sorry, I always forget what the sounds are. But that's so fun though! We just hang up balls. But yeah, we just hang up like ornaments. It's pronounced like smell. Ah, smell. Ah. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that with me. I like that. I'm going to steal this. Yes. I like candy. Yes. Especially because, well, I'll be buying candy for Halloween before then, so I'll definitely have candy. Very good. I do not know how long I remained in the situation, but when I awoke, I found that the sun had already mounted considerably. The wind was high, and the waves continually threatened the safety of my little skiff. I found that the wind was northeast and must have driven me far from the coast from which I had embarked. I endeavored to change my course, but quickly found that if I again made the attempt, the boat would instantly fill with water. Thus situated, my only resource was to drive before the wind. I confess that I felt a few sensations of terror. I had no compass with me, and was so slenderly acquainted with the geography of this part of the world that the sun was of little benefit to me. I might be driven into the wide Atlantic and feel all the tortures of starvation, or be swallowed up in the immeasurable waters that roared and buffeted around me. I had already been out many hours, and felt the torment of a burning thirst, a prelude to my other sufferings. I looked on the heavens, which were covered by clouds that flew before the wind, only to be replaced by others. I looked upon the sea. It was to be my grave. Fiend, I exclaimed, your task is already fulfilled. I thought of Elizabeth, of my father, and of Clerval, all left behind, on whom the monster might satisfy his sanguinary and merciless passions. This idea plunged me into the reverie so despairing and frightful that even now, when the scene is on the point of closing before me forever, I shudder to reflect on it. Some hours passed thus, but by degrees, as the sun declined towards the horizon, the wind died away into a gentle breeze, and the sea became free from breakers. But these gave place to a heavy swell. I felt sick and hardly able to hold the rudder, when suddenly I saw a line of high land towards the south. Almost spent as I was, by fatigue and the dreadful suspense I endured for several hours, this sudden certainty of life rushed like a flood of warm joy to my heart, and tears gushed from my eyes. How mutable are our feelings, and how strange is that clinging love we have of life, even in the excess of misery. I constructed another sail with a part of my dress, and eagerly steered my course towards the land. It had a wild and rocky appearance, but as I approached nearer, I easily perceived the traces of cultivation. I saw vessels near the shore, and found myself suddenly transported back to the neighborhood of civilized man. I carefully traced the windings of the land, and hailed a steeple which I at length saw issuing from behind a small promontory. As I was in a state of extreme debility, I resolved to sail directly towards the town, as a place where I could most easily procure nourishment. Fortunately, I had money with me. As I turned the promontory, I received a small, neat town and a good harbor, which I entered, my heart bounding with joy at my unexpected escape. But yeah, there's going to be some nice updates coming out this year. According to the trailer, we'll finally get access to that huge tree in the horizon. No way, really? That's actually really exciting. That was also some concept art of some new pals, and I got to say those who were really adorable. That's actually some huge news. Wow. Well, I'm very excited for that. When is it coming out? I'm just gonna get my socks, guys. Be right back. But yeah, that's really exciting. Wow. I wonder what type of pals they'll be releasing then. Like ties to the tree and everything. And it'll be really cool to like have a completely different type of like land. Right. Let us continue. As I occupied in fixing, oh, by the way, just like checking, is the fire too loud or is it okay? There weren't a specific day, but it did promise it'll happen during this year, and usually the big stuff happens around summertime. Ooh, exciting. Well, I'll be looking forward to that. As I occupied in fixing the boat and arranging the sails, several people crowded towards the spot. What fire? You don't hear it? You don't hear that? Surely you hear that. Hello? Surely you do. No way. No way. Not possible. I'll just assume you do. Not a thing. What do you mean? Yes, it is. As I occupied in fixing the boat and arranging the sails, several people crowded towards the spot. They seemed much surprised at my appearance, but instead of offering me any assistance, whispered together with gestures that at any other time might have produced me a slight sensation of alarm. As it was, I merely remarked that they spoke English, and I therefore addressed them in that language. "My good friends," said I, "will you be so kind as to tell me the name of this town and inform me where I am?" "You will know that soon enough," replied a man with a hoarse voice. "Maybe you are to come to a place that will not prove much to your taste, but you will not be consulted as to your quarters, I promise you." I was exceedingly surprised on receiving so rude an answer from a stranger, and I was also disconcerted on perceiving the frowning and angry countenances of his companions. "Why do you answer me so roughly?" I replied, "Surely it is not the custom of Englishmen to receive strangers so inhospitably." "I do not know," said the man, "what the customs of the English may be, but it is the custom of the Irish to hate villains." What? Goodness. I'm off to work. Bye bye. Haven't heard any fire crackling? Really? I'm so surprised you can't hear this. Let's hear. Let's do that advanced thing that that the Senti taught me. Epic Senti. He knows everything. What about now? Can you hear it now? Is it audible? It's now on 200%. Faintly, yeah. That's crazy. Wow. What about now? Very audible? Too audible? Goodness. Can't believe I've been listening to Fire myself on my own. Well, here we go. Goodness. This is one of my most important things I found out, that I can change the volume like that. Like, that's crazy. Oh, what a blessing. Sensei, this is why you are a VIP. Anyway, let's continue. Well, this strange dialogue, Noah hogging all the coziness for herself. Not on purpose. I didn't know. Like, I swear when I've uploaded the audio to Patreon before, I heard it fine. While this strange dialogue continued, I perceived the crowd rapidly increase. Their faces expressed a mixture of curiosity and anger, which annoyed me and in some degree alarmed me. I inquired the way to the inn, but no one replied. I then moved forward, and a murmuring sound arose from the crowd as they followed and surrounded me. When an ill-looking man approaching tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Come, sir, you must follow me to Mr. Kerwin's to give an account of yourself." Who is Mr. Kerwin? Why am I to give an account of myself? Is not this a free country? Aye, sir, free enough for honest folk. Mr. Kerwin is a magistrate, and you are to give an account of the death of a gentleman who was found murdered here last night. This answer startled me, but I presently recovered myself. I was innocent. That could easily be proved. Accordingly, I followed my conductor in silence. I was led to one of the best houses in the town. I was ready to sink from fatigue and hunger, but being surrounded by a crowd, I thought it politic to arouse all my strength, that no physical debility might be construed into apprehension or conscious guilt. Little did I then expect the calamity that was in a few moments to overwhelm me, and extinguish in horror and despair all fear of ignominy or death. I must pause here, for it requires all my fortitude to recall the memory of the frightful events which I am to relate in proper detail to my recollection. Goodness. Yippee! Chapter 21, let's go! Anyway, during the day, I've tried to get myself one nearly perfect pal via breeding to aid me with that last tower boss on hard mode. Got a good laugh when checking all possible crossbreed methods for it. Ooh, what does it look like? What is the name of the perfect breed? I'm curious. Or do you not want to spoil? That might be a spoiler, I suppose. Oh well. But, so were you able to do it then? The last boss on hard mode? I was soon introduced into the presence of the magistrate, an old benevolent man with calm and mild manners. He looked upon me, however, with some degree of severity, and then, turning towards my conductors, he asked who appeared as witnesses on this occasion. About half a dozen men came forward, and one being selected by the magistrate. He deposed that he had been out fishing the night before with his son and brother-in-law, Daniel Nugent, when about 10 o'clock they observed a strong northerly blast rising, and they accordingly put in for port. It was a very dark night, as the moon had not yet risen. They did not land at the harbor, but, as they had been accustomed, at a creek about 2 miles below, he walked on first, carrying a part of the fishing tackle, and his companions followed him at some distance. Sorry. As he was proceeding along the sands, he struck his foot against something and fell at his length on the ground. His companions came up to assist him, and by the light of their lantern they found that he had fallen on the body of a man who was to all appearance dead. The first suspicion was that it was a corpse of some person who had been drowned and was thrown on the shore by the waves, but on examination they found that the clothes were not wet, and even that the body was not then cold. They instantly carried it to the cottage of an old woman near the spot, and endeavored, but in vain, to restore it to life. It appeared to be a handsome young man, about 25 years of age. He had apparently been strangled, for there was no sign of any violence except the black mark of fingers on his neck. Goodness. Hi, Shrimp. Hello. How are you today? Welcome, welcome. Hi, Edo as well. How are you today? Oh, I've been playing more Hytale too. It's very pretty and you can build really nice things. It's a more RPG adventure combat focused than Minecraft. I like it. Oh, that's great. I'm glad you like it. I am still gonna wait till like it's no longer the beta, I think. But it's good to know that there's like that is actually a solid game. Maybe in the future I will buy it. Well, you might have seen it on some tropical shores, assuming you've got there, and sadly I haven't got to the challenge part yet, since getting the right skill combinations requires quite a lot of time to achieve, not to mention having those high ability scores. Oh, I see. Yeah, I never really got into like the high level stuff, so I'm not sure if I know which POW it is, but I wish you luck. I'm doing good, how are you? I'm pretty good, yeah, I'm chilling. Yeah, just kind of just having a reading session today. And yeah, nothing else to report really. I'm doing, and I'm also pretty good. Yes, Ado, I'm glad you're doing good as well. Very good, guys. What did you get up to in the weekend? Anything fun? The first part of this deposition did not in the least interest me. But when the mark of the fingers was mentioned, I remembered the murder of my brother and felt myself extremely agitated. My limbs trembled and a mist came over my eyes, which obliged me to lean on the chair for support. The magistrate observed me with a keen eye and of course drew an unfavorable augury from my manner. The son confirmed his father's account, but when Daniel Nugent was called, he swore positively that just before the fall of his companion, he saw a boat with a single man in it, at a short distance from the shore, and as far as he could judge by the light of a few stars, it was the same boat in which I had just landed. A woman deposed that she lived near the beach, and was standing at the door of her cottage, waiting for the return of the fisherman, about an hour before she heard of the discovery of the body, when she saw a boat with only one man in it to push off from the part of the shore where the corpse was afterwards found. Another woman confirmed the account of the fisherman having brought the body into her house. It was not cold. They put it into a bed and rubbed it, and Daniel went to the town for an apothecary, but life was quite gone. Several other men were examined concerning my landing, and they agreed that with a strong north wind that had arisen during the night, it was very probable that I had beaten about for many hours and had been obliged to return nearly to the same spot from which I had departed. Besides, they observed that it appeared that I had brought the body from another place, and it was likely that as I did not appear to know the shore, I might have put it into the harbor ignorant of the distance of the town from the place where I had deposed the corpse. Mr. Kerwin, on hearing this evidence, desired that I should be taken into the room where the body lay for interment, that it might be observed what effect the sight of it would produce upon me. This idea was probably suggested by the extreme agitation I had exhibited when the mode of the murder had been described. I was accordingly conducted by the magistrate and several other persons to the inn. I could not help being struck with the strange coincidences that had taken place during this eventful night. But knowing that I had been conversing with several persons in this island I had inhabited about the time that the body had been found, I was perfectly tranquil as to the consequences of the affair. I just stayed at home for the weekend. Ah, that sounds really nice. That sounds very cozy. I'm glad. Sometimes you just need a reset weekend, don't you? Completely fair. I also stayed home basically the whole weekend. I just played a bunch of games. I played games on Saturday with a friend, and then Sunday with a bunch of friends as well. And we went for a coffee, and that's it really. Nothing special, really. I entered the room where the corpse lay and was led up to the coffin. How can I describe my sensations on beholding it? I feel yet parched with horror, nor can I reflect on that terrible moment without shuddering and agony. The exhumation, the presence of the magistrate and witnesses, passed like a dream from my memory when I saw the lifeless form of Henry Clerval stretched before me. I gasped for breath, and throwing myself on the body, I exclaimed, "Have my murderous machinations deprived you also, my dearest Henry, of life? 2 I have already destroyed, other victims await their destiny, but you, Clerval, my friend, my benefactor." The human frame could no longer support the agonies that I endured, and I was carried out of the room in strong convulsions. A fever succeeded to this. I lay for 2 months on the point of my death. My ravings, as I afterwards heard, were frightful. I called myself the murderer of William, of Justine, and of Clerval. Sometimes I entreated my attendants to assist me in the destruction of the fiend by whom I was tormented. And at others I felt the fingers of the monster already grasping my neck, and screamed aloud with an agony and terror. Fortunately, as I spoke my native language, Mr. Kerwin alone understood me. But my gestures and bitter cries were sufficient to affright the other witnesses. Why did I not die? More miserable than man ever was before, why did I not sink into forgetfulness and rest? Death snatches away many blooming children, the only hopes of their doting parents. How many brides and youthful lovers have been one day in the bloom of health and hope, and the next to pray for worms and the decay of the tomb? Of what materials was I made, that I could thus resist so many shocks, which, like the turning of the wheel, continually renew the torture? But I was doomed to live, and in 2 months found myself as awakening from a dream, in a prison, stretched on a wretched bed, surrounded by gaolers, turnkeys, bolts, and all the miserable apparatus of a dungeon. It was morning, I remember, when I thus awoke to understanding. I had forgotten the particulars of what had happened, and only felt as if some great misfortune had suddenly overwhelmed me. But when I looked around and saw the barred windows and the squalidness of the room in which I was, all flashed across my memory, and I groaned bitterly. This sound disturbed an old woman who was sleeping in a chair beside me. She was a hired nurse, the wife of one of the turnkeys, and her countenance expressed all those bad qualities which often characterize that class. The lines of her face were hard and rude, like that of persons accustomed to see without sympathizing in sights of misery. Her tone was expressed, her entire indifference. She addressed me in English, and the voice struck me as one that I had heard during my sufferings. "Are you better now, sir?" said she. I replied in the same language, with a feeble voice. "I believe I am, but if it be all true, if indeed I did not dream, I am sorry that I am still alive to feel this misery and horror." "For that matter," replied the old woman, "if you mean about the gentleman you murdered, I believe that it were better for you if you were dead, for I fancy it will go hard with you. However, that's not my business. I am sent to nurse you and get you well. I do my duty with a safe conscience. It were well if everybody did the same." I turned with loathing from the woman who could utter so unfeeling a speech to a person just saved, on the very edge of death. But I felt languid and unable to reflect on all that had passed. The whole series of my life appeared to me as a dream. I sometimes doubted if indeed it were all true, for it never presented itself to my mind with the force of reality. As the images that floated before me became more distinct, I grew feverish. A darkness pressed around me. No one was near me who soothed me with a gentle voice of love. No dear hand supported me. The physician came and prescribed medicines, and the old woman prepared them for me. But utter carelessness was visible in the first, and the expression of brutality was strongly marked in the visage of the second. Who could be interested in the fate of a murderer but the hangman who would gain his fee? These were my first reflections, but I soon learned that Mr. Kerwin had shown me extreme kindness. He had caused the best room in the prison to be prepared for me. Wretched indeed was the best, and it was he who had provided a physician and a nurse. It is true, he seldom came to see me, for although he ardently desired to relieve the sufferings of every human creature, he did not wish to be present at the agonies and miserable ravings of a murderer. He came, therefore, sometimes to see that I was not neglected, but his visits were short and with long intervals. One day, while I was gradually recovering, I was seated in a chair, my eyes half open and my cheeks livid like those in death. I was overcome by gloom and misery, and often reflected I had better seek death than desire to remain in the world, which to me was replete with wretchedness. At one time, I considered whether I should not declare myself guilty and suffer the penalty of law, less innocent than poor Justine had been. Such were my thoughts when the door of my apartment was opened, and Mr. Kerwin entered. His countenance expressed sympathy and compassion. He drew a chair close to mine and addressed me in French. "I fear that this place is very shocking to you. Can I do anything to make you more comfortable?" "I thank you, but all that you mention is nothing to me. On the whole earth there is no comfort which I am capable of receiving. I know that the sympathy of a stranger can be but of little relief to one borne down as you are by so strange a misfortune. But you will, I hope, soon quit this melancholy abode, for doubtless evidence can easily be brought to free you from the criminal charge." "That is my least concern I am, by a course of strange events, become the most miserable of mortals. Persecuted and tortured as I am and have been, can death be any evil to me? Nothing indeed could be more unfortunate and agonizing than the strange chances that have lately occurred. You were thrown, by some surprising accident, on this shore, renowned for its hospitality, seized immediately, and charged with murder. The first sight that was presented to your eyes was the body of your friend, murdered in so accountable a manner and placed, as it were, by some fiend across your path. As Mr. Kerwin said this, notwithstanding the agitation I endured on this retrospect of my sufferings, I also felt considerable surprise at the knowledge he seemed to possess concerning me. I suppose some astonishment was exhibited in my countenance, for Mr. Kerwin hastened to say, "Immediately upon your being taken ill, all the papers that were on your person were brought me. That sentence doesn't sound right. And I examined them that I might discover some trace by which I could send to your relations an account of your misfortune and illness. I found several letters, and among others, one which I discovered from its commencement to be from your father. I instantly wrote to Geneva. Nearly 2 months have elapsed since the departure of my letter, but you are ill. Even now you tremble. You are unfit for agitation of any kind. This suspense is 1,000 times worse than the most horrible event. Tell me what new scene of death has been acted, and whose murder I am to lament." "Your family is perfectly well," said Mr. Kerwin with gentleness, "and someone, a friend, is come to visit you." I know not by what chain of thought the idea presented itself, but it instantly darted in my mind that the murderer had come to mock at my misery, and taunt me with the death of Clerval as a new incitement for me to comply with hellish desires. I put my hand before my eyes and cried out in agony, "Oh, take him away! I cannot see him, for God's sake! Do not let him enter!" Mr. Kerwin regarded me with a troubled countenance. He could not help regarding my exclamation as a presumption of my guilt, and said in a rather severe tone, "I should have thought, young man, that the presence of your father would have been welcome, instead of inspiring such violent repugnance." "My father!" cried I, while every feature and every muscle was relaxed from anguish to pleasure. "Is my father indeed come? How kind, how very kind! But where is he? Why does he not hasten me?" My change of manner surprised and pleased the magistrate. Perhaps he thought that my former exclamation was a momentary return of delirium, and now he instantly resumed his former benevolence. He rose and quitted the room with my nurse, and in a moment my father entered it. Nothing at this moment could have given me greater pleasure than the arrival of my father. I stretched out my hand to him and cried, "Are you then safe? And Elizabeth? And Ernest?" My father calmed me with assurance of their welfare, and endeavored, by dwelling on these subjects so interesting to my heart, to raise my desponding spirits, but he soon felt that a prison cannot be the abode of cheerfulness. "What a place is this that you inhabit, my son?" said he, looking mournfully at the barred windows and wretched appearance of the room. "You travel to seek happiness, but a fatality seems to pursue you. And poor Clerval, the name of my unfortunate and murdered friend, was an agitation too great to be endured in my weak state." I shed tears. "Alas, yes, my father," replied I. "Some destiny of the most horrible kind hangs over me, and I must live to fulfill it, or surely I should have died on the coffin of Henry." We were not allowed to converse for any length of time, for the precarious state of my health rendered every precaution necessary that could ensure tranquillity. Mr. Kerwin came in and insisted that my strength should not be exhausted by too much exertion. But the appearance of my father was to me like that of my good angel, and gradually recovered my health. As my sickness quitted me, I was absorbed by a gloomy and black melancholy that nothing could dissipate. The image of Clerval was forever before me, ghastly and murdered. For then once the agitation into which these reflections threw me made my friends dread a dangerous relapse. Alas, why did they preserve so miserable and detested a life? It was surely that I might fulfill my destiny, which is now drawing to a close. Soon, oh, very soon, will death extinguish these throbbings, and relieves me from the mighty weight of anguish that bears me to dust. And in executing the award of justice, I shall also sink to rest. Then the appearance of death was distant, although the wish was ever to present my in thoughts, and I often sat for hours, motionless and speechless, wishing for some mighty revolution that might bury me and my destroyer in its ruins. I'm just gonna check how much longer it is till 22. Okay, that's not too bad. And I think it is 24 chapters. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it, man. I'm gonna try, but I'm really sleepy. This like coziness is this coziness is really putting me to sleep. Not much, you're almost done. Yes, sir. Goodness, sorry for all the gulping. Actually, same. Yeah, I'm so sleepy. Oh goodness. I am literally reading you a bedtime story, so that completely makes sense. I will get some tea and probably fall asleep to your stream. Cool. Well, I'm glad I can do that for you. I'm at your service, sir. The season of the Assizes approached, and I had already been 3 months in prison. And although I was still weak and in continual danger of a relapse, I was obliged to travel nearly 100 miles to the country town where the court was held. Mr. Kerwin charged me. Oh my god, sorry. I'm like in the middle of a hiccup / burp. I'm not sure. Okay, it's over now. So sorry. Mr. Kerwin. Mr. Kerwin charged himself with every care of collecting witnesses and arranging my defense. I was spared the disgrace of appearing publicly as a criminal. As the case was not brought before the court that decides on life and death, the grand jury rejected the bill on its being proved that I was on the Orkney Islands at the hour the body of my friend was found, and a fortnight after my removal, I was liberated from prison. My father was enraptured on finding me freed from the vexations of a criminal charge, that I was again allowed to breathe the fresh atmosphere and permitted to return to my native country. I did not participate in these feelings, for to me the walls of a dungeon or a palace were alike hateful. The cup of life was poisoned forever, and although the sun shone upon me as upon the happy and gay of heart, I saw around me nothing but a dense and frightful darkness, penetrated by no light but the glimmer of 2 eyes that glared upon me. Sometimes they were the expressive eyes of Henry, languishing in death, the dark orbs nearly covered by the lids, and the long black lashes that fringed them. Sometimes it was the watery, clouded eyes of the monster, as I first saw them in my chamber at Ingolstadt. Having a cup of coffee with some chocolate chip cookies while listening to the stream. Ooh, a coffee this late, goodness me. But the chocolate chip cookie does sound very yummy. Oh, it's been a while since I've had cookies actually, but I've been having banana bread like every single day since last week. Because Coopsy barely eats from it. I think he ate in the beginning, and then I've just like been munching on all of it. Because we had so many bananas, we had to get rid of it somehow. But I'm not complaining, I like bananas. And I like banana bread, so there we go. My father tried to awaken in me the feeling of affection. He talked of Geneva, which I should soon visit, of Elizabeth and Ernest, but these words only drew deep groans from me. Sometimes, indeed, I felt a wish for happiness, and thought with melancholy delight of my beloved cousin, or longed with the devouring maladie du pays to see once more the blue lake and the rapid Rhone that had been so dear to me in early childhood. But my general state of feeling was a torpor in which a prison was as welcome as residence, as the divinest scene in nature. And these fits were seldom interrupted but by paroxysms of anguish and despair. At these moments, I often endeavored to put an end to the existence I loathed, and it required unceasing attendance and vigilance to restrain me from committing some dreadful acts of violence. Yet one duty remained to me, the collection of which finally triumphed over my selfish despair. It was necessary that I should return without delay to Geneva, oh my goodness, there to watch over the lives of those I so fondly loved, and to lie in wait for the murderer, that if any chance led me to the place of his concealment, or if he dared again to blast me by his presence, I might, with unfailing aim, put an end to the existence of the monstrous image which I had endued with the mockery of a soul still more monstrous. My father still desired to delay our departure, fearful that I could not sustain the fatigues of a journey, for I was a wretched wreck, the shadow of a human being. My strength was gone. I was a mere skeleton. A fever night and day preyed upon my wasted frame. Still, as I urged our leaving Ireland with such inquietude and impatience, my father thought oh my god, I'm having a stroke. We're just gonna calm down, okay? Still, as I urged our leaving Ireland with such inquietude and impatience, my father thought it best to yield. Goodness. We take our passage on board a vessel bound for Havre de Grace, and sailed with a fair wind from the Irish shores. It was midnight. I lay on the deck looking at the stars and listening to the dashing of the waves. I hailed the darkness that shut Ireland from my sight, and my pulse beat with a feverish joy when I reflected that I should soon see Geneva. The past appeared to me in the light of a frightful dream, yet the vessel in which I was, the wind that blew me from the detested shore of Ireland, and the sea which surrounded me, told me too forcibly that I was deceived by no vision, and that Clerval, my friend and dearest companion, had fallen a victim to me and the monster of my creation. I repassed in my memory my whole life, my quiet happiness while residing with my family in Geneva, the death of my mother, and the departure for Ingolstadt. I remembered, shuddering, the mad enthusiasm that hurried me on to the creation of my hideous enemy, and I called to mind the night in which he first lived. I was unable to pursue the train of thought. 1,000 feelings pressed upon me, and I wept bitterly. Ever since my recovery from the fever, I had been in the custom of taking every night a small quantity of laudanum, for it was by means of this drug only that I enabled to gain the rest necessary for the preservation of life. Oppressed by the recollection of my various misfortunes, I now swallowed double my usual quantity, and soon slept profoundly. But sleep did not afford me the respite from thought and misery. My dreams presented 1,000 objects that scared me. Towards morning, I was possessed by a kind of nightmare. I felt a fiend's grasp in my neck, and could not free myself from it. Groans and cries rang in my ears. My father, who was watching over me, perceiving my restfulness, awoke me. The dashing waves were around, the cloudy sky above. The fiend was not there. a sense of security, a feeling that a truce was established between the present hour and the irresistible, disastrous future, imparted to me a kind of calm forgetfulness, of which the human mind is by its structure peculiarly susceptible. This is true, this is true. Okay, we're on to chapter 22. 22, 23, 24. 3 chapters. Ooh, 3. Needing a small energy boost as I plan to try and get that new PAL warrior breed today. And I've got enough training manuals to level the little fellow to max if needed. Although few brawls with legendaries would need this. Oh, wow. Very ambitious goal for today. Well, make sure to give the little guy some snackies. And some rest as well between training sessions, of course. Yes. I hope everyone else is doing well. I hope you're all chilling. I hope you haven't fallen asleep. Wake up, wake up, wake up. We are now on chapter 22. We are getting there. We might finish today. Who knows? Still, I think that is very ambitious. So we'll see. Chapter 22. The voyage came to an end. We landed and proceeded to Paris. I soon found that I had overtaxed my strength and that I must repose before I could continue my journey. My father's care and attentions were indefatigable, but he did not know the origin of my sufferings and sought erroneous methods to remedy the incurable ill. He wished me to seek amusement in society. I abhorred the face of man. Oh, not abhorred. They were my brethren, my fellow beings, and I felt attracted even to the most repulsive among them, as to creatures of an angelic nature and celestial mechanisms. But I felt that I had no right to share their intercourse. I had unchained an enemy among them, whose joy it was to shed their blood and to revel in their groans. How they would, each and all, abhor me and hunt me from the world, did they know my unhallowed acts and the crimes which had their source in me. My father yielded at length to my desire to avoid society, and strove by various arguments to banish my despair. Sometimes he thought that I felt deeply the degradation of being obliged to answer a charge of murder, and he endeavored to prove to me the futility of my pride. Alas, my father, said I, how little do you know me. Human beings, their feelings and passions, would indeed be degraded if such a wretch as I felt pride. Justine, poor unhappy Justine, was as innocent as I, and she suffered the same charge. She died for it, and I am the cause of this. I murdered her. William, Justine, and Henry, they all died by my hands. My father had often, during my imprisonment, heard me make the same assertion when I thus accused myself. He sometimes seemed to desire an explanation, and at others he appeared to consider it as the offspring of delirium, and that during my illness some idea of this kind had presented itself to my imagination. The remembrance of which I preserved in my convalescence, I avoided explanation and maintained a continual silence concerning the wretch I had created. I had a persuasion that I should be supposed mad, and this in itself would forever have chained my tongue. But besides, I could not bring myself to disclose a secret which would fill my hearer with consternation and make fear and unnatural horror the inmates of his breast. I checked, therefore, my impatient thirst for sympathy, and was silenced when I would have given the world to have confided the fatal secret. Yet, still words like those I have recorded would burst uncontrollably from me. I could offer no explanation of them, but their truth in part relieved the burden of my mysterious woe. Upon this occasion, my father said, with an expression of unbounded wonder, "My dearest Victor, what infatuation is this? My dear son, I entreat you never to make such an assertion again." "I'm not mad," I cried energetically. "The sun and the heavens, who have viewed my operations, can bear witness of my truth. I am the assassin of those most innocent victims. They died by my machinations. Yes. 1,000 times would I have shed my own blood, drop by drop, to have saved their lives. But I could not, my father. Indeed, I could not sacrifice the whole human race." The conclusion of this speech convinced my father that my ideas were deranged, and he instantly changed the subject of our conversation and endeavored to alter the course of my thoughts. He wished as much as possible to obliterate the memory of the scenes that had taken place in Ireland, and never alluded to them or suffered me to speak of my misfortunes. As time passed away, I became more calm. Misery had her dwelling in my heart, but I no longer talked in the same incoherent manner of my own crimes. Sufficient for me was the consciousness of them. By the utmost self-violence, I curbed the imperious voice of wretchedness, which sometimes desired to declare itself to the whole world, and my manner were calmer and more composed than they had ever been since my journey to the sea of ice. A few days before we left Paris, on our way to Switzerland, I received the following letter from Elizabeth. "My dear friend, it gave me the greatest pleasure to receive a letter from my uncle dated at Paris. You are no longer at a formidable distance, and I may hope to see you in less than a fortnight. My poor cousin, how much you must have suffered! I expect to see you looking even more ill than when you quitted Geneva. This winter has been passed most miserably, tortured as I have been by anxious suspense. Yet I hope to see peace in your countenance, and to find that your heart is not totally void of comfort and tranquillity. Yet I fear that the same feelings now exist that made you so miserable a year ago, even perhaps augmented by time. I would not disturb you at this period when so many misfortunes weigh upon you, but a conversation that I had with my uncle previous to his departure renders some explanation necessary before we meet." "Explanation, you may possibly say. What can Elizabeth have to explain? If you really say this, my questions are answered and all my doubts satisfied. But you are distant from me, and it is possible that you may dread and yet be pleased with this explanation. And in a probability of this being the case, I dare not any longer postpone writing what, during your absence, I have often wished to express to you, but I have never had the courage to begin." Oh my God, is she gonna confess her love to him? No, I don't want any part of this man. "You well know, Victor, that our union had been the favorite plan of your parents ever since our infancy. We were told this when young, and taught to look forward to it as an event that would certainly take place. We were affectionate playfellows during childhood, and I believe dear and valued friends to one another as we grew older. But as brother and sister often entertain a lively affection towards each other without desiring a more intimate union. May not such also be our case? Tell me, dearest Victor, answer me. I conjure you, by our mutual happiness, with simple truth. Do you not love another? You have traveled. You have spent several years of your life at Ingolstadt, and I confess to you, my friend, that when I saw you last autumn so unhappy, flying to solitude from the society of every creature, I could not help supposing that you might regret our connection, and believe yourself bound in honor to fulfill the wishes of your parents, although they oppose themselves to your inclinations. But this is false reasoning. I confess to you, my friend, that I love you, and that in my airy dreams of futurity you have been my constant friend and companion. But it is your happiness I desire as well as my own, when I declare to you that our marriage would render me eternally miserable unless it were the dictate of your own free choice. Even now I weep to think that, borne down as you are by the cruelest misfortunes, you may stifle by the word honor all hope of that love and happiness which would alone restore you to yourself. I, who have so disinterested an affection for you, may increase your miseries tenfold by being an obstacle to your wishes. Ah, Victor, be assured that your cousin and playmate has too sincere a love for you not to be made miserable by this supposition. Be happy, my friend, and if you obey me in this one request, remain satisfied that nothing on earth will have the power to interrupt my tranquillity. Do not let this letter disturb you. Do not answer tomorrow or the next day, or even until you come, if it will give you pain. My uncle will send me news of your health, and if I see but one smile on your lips when we meet, occasioned by this or any other exertion of mine, I shall need no other happiness. Goodness, wait, does that mean she's not into him and she's like, this is kind of weird, I don't want to do this? Or is she saying like, do you love another? Do you even want this? I'm not like really sure what she meant. Like, I'm not sure if she's saying he's not into it or if she's saying she's not into it. All I know is that I'm not into it. I'm not really enjoying this brotherly, this is sibling love. I think she's a tiny bit crazy. Why do you think she's crazy? What? I think she's just like, oh my god, I don't know if you love me. So if you don't love me, don't feel forced to be with me. You can be with who you want. I don't want you to be miserable, you know? But like, he's mad about her. He's like, oh, I love you. But like, they call each other Wincest? Am I Christian? Which? Hey, not voluntarily. Okay, they're not actually related. She was adopted. But like, I feel like when you grow up together, you're basically siblings. That's basically how it works, okay? It's magic. Woody Allen defense. Not Woody Allen, man. I often forget he exists. I think it's like this thing I'm just trying to delete out of my brain. It's so weird, dude. Japan have a word for that. Iseki? Is that what it? Oh my goodness. Ooh, they have the word. They have. It's not blood related. That's so weird, dude. Why do they need a word for that? Probably because it's in all animes ever. When incest is too spicy. You mean too wrong? Oh goodness me. You know why? I know why. Step brother. Oh no! Dude, it's just actually so weird though. But especially the Woody Allen stuff is like bonkers, dude. Oh my god. Like, I don't understand how he's still accepted by like anyone. Like, he's literally dating the child that he raised. Like, that's weird. That's weird. It's just odd. It's scary. That's weird. Yeah, Hollywood is a weird place. Like there's so many like openly weird freaks. Sorry, that's like a really rude word, but I feel like it's applicable. That are just not shunned and they should be. Like the one time shunning is okay is this moment, guys. Hi, what you reading? Hi, Key. We are reading the last chapters of Frankenstein, and we're we're discussing incest because um so they're not related, but they grew up together as siblings and they're like in love and stuff, and it's just a bit weird, and we're like discussing whether it's weird, and I think it's weird, and yeah. What are you up to, Key? Oh, seems I got right on time. Dating a child that you raise is half a trailer full of red flags. No, it's a full trailer of red flags. Yeah, no, it's fucking weird. It's just weird. Yeah, it's just weird. What can I say? It's really odd. Why would you do that? That's weird. But hey, are we surprised? It is Hollywood. They're literally like full of them. It attracts them like moths to a flame. So yeah. But yeah, we're almost done. We are now in chapter 22 of the 24. So I'm trying to finish this book today, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. I'm really, really trying, but I can't promise anything. I've been trying really hard. I'm just gonna ask Koopsie for a tea. I'm just gonna be like, can you please make me a tea? Thank you very much. Gotta keep my voice nice and smooth. I just got back from the walk, eaten and warming up under a blanket. Everything is pretty great right now. Oh, dude, yes. Yes, that is very nice. There is nothing better than being cold and then getting home to crawl under a blanket, dude. Oh. Especially in winter is... Yes. I want to do that right now because I'm freezing. This house is always freezing. It's just like this stupid house is oh sorry, not this stupid house. I like this house. But like there's so many little things that they've not built right in this house. Obviously it's probably really old, so that's probably why. But in loads of places in the house you can actually see a draft coming in. Like Koopsie put a blanket close to the front door and it was actually like moving because of the draft, because of the door, so it's coming through. No wonder it's freezing. And we've also got a vent downstairs. It's basically just like all the cold air in. We've got a window in the bedroom that doesn't close properly. So like all that cold air is constantly coming in. So like no wonder we are always freezing. Old houses, am I right? Yay. Woo, I love it. I love it. It's so great. But at least we don't have bugs. Which I'm really surprised about with all the holes, you know? The best part is I modified my blanket. How did you do that? You modified your blanket? Bro, Machiavellian moment. I opened it, put some heating elements for cloths in it, and it's warming up from my power bank. What the hell? That's some like tech shit. Damn. It's freaking 14 degrees in my room. Woo, cold. I bet it's higher here, but it feels like it's freezing. And I'm literally wearing like 2 layers. I've got a blanket on me and I'm still cold. But to be fair, I'm always cold. I think it's just because I don't work out. It's like my blood doesn't run properly, and then that's how you guys stay warm. Yep. People that exercise are warm. That's just the way it is, I guess. 14 is a bit on the colder side. It really is. That is cold. Nice cold. You should heat up your house, dude. Get on it. Yeah. Right, let's continue reading, eh? Let's warm up with words. I really hope Koopsie sees my message. After this match, we are losing again. Oh, goodness. He's losing league, guys. I'm surprised he's not, like, yelling yet. I said this to say recently, actually. I was thinking of doing, like, a bingo. Like, we can do a bingo where we'll just write whatever he yells. And then you can cross it off. Like, what is stuff he says? He's won, bro. He's won. Why are we pushing? Stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. I really want to do that. I want to see how much I can get right. Mid or feed. What? I've never heard him say that. I suppose this is a league thing that I do not understand. Yes. I mean, I am a space heater. You're a space heater? Huh? What? What that mean? I'm trying to think of other things he said. I literally cannot think of other things. He yells a lot of things, but I just can't recall what he says usually. He will actually gain some respect if he does. Really now. I'll tell him. He'll lose everything by playing League. This is true. I don't approve of League. League is a very... Oh my god. Hi, Sky. How are you today? Thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. Hi. What are you drawing today? Big yawn. Oh my goodness. Big yawn. Hi. Hello, Kiko. Hello, Fires. Hello. Hi, Meow Meow. How are you? Hello. How are you today? Hello. Hi.
Get out of your chair right now.
I hope you've all had a very nice weekend. You have a nice ears. Can I pat? Yeah, sure. Such a cute yawn here. Thank you. He's yelling right now, but I think he's yelling because he's watching a League tournament. He's not playing League himself. We're drawing Starbucks women. What is Starbucks women? Women that go to Starbucks? Oh, yes. Sorry. I will do it right now. I just need to show, like, get rid of my screen for a second while I do that, because otherwise you can see everything, because I'm sharing my desktop screen. But how was your weekend? How was your weekend, Sky? Also, if you need to go relax now, that's completely understandable. I hope you had a good raid. Seems like you had lots of people watching, so that's very good. So basic bitches, I'm one of those. Hey, you're not a basic bitch. You don't drink at Starbucks. You said it was shit. Yeah. To be fair, I don't really like Starbucks very much either. It's good, it's good. Thank you, been playing and drawing a lot. Yeah, you've been streaming loads. Like every time I've been streaming, you've been streaming. Goodness me. You're on the grind. Good for you. Oh my god, true, I don't, but we have our own Starbucks in Sweden called Espresso House. Man, I really want to try Espresso House. You're really hyping this up. It better be good. They better have some nice sweet things, because that's all coffee is The coffee can only be good if it's sweet. That's how it works, you see. Needs to have lots of milk and loads of, well, not loads of sugar, but a bit of sugar to make it sweet. Yes, it's great. Okay, I will hold you to that. When you actually, me and Fipsy were talking about recently that we should come visit you, but it's just that I don't know when I'm allowed to go, because with my current job I can't choose my holidays. Hi Tom, have a nice lurk. But yes, please, I'd love to go. Yes, that'd be great. We should go. Well, I will get back on reading. Thank you, Raiders. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a nice rest of your night. Well, you know that woman that wasn't shopping at Starbucks, she was cooking with her own materials. You are allowed to visit anytime. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I do love 1,200 calorie sweetened coffee flavored milk with 5 kinds of syrup, whipped cream and candy. Okay, no, that's a bit like over exaggerated. The way I like my coffee is just milk and like maybe 1 dash of syrup or something. I don't like it when it's too sweet. It like needs to be normal. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Have a great stream. Okay, Key, thank you for popping in. Hope you have a nice rest of your night. Bye, boy. Right, let's continue reading. This letter revived in my memory what I had before forgotten, the threat of the fiend. I will be with you on your wedding night. Such was my sentence, and on that night would the daemon employ every art to destroy me, and tear me from the glimpse of happiness, which promised partly to console my sufferings. On that night he had determined to consummate his crimes by my death. Well, be it so, a deathly struggle would then assuredly take place, in which, have a good stream everyone, I'm going to bed. Okay, good night, fires, bye-bye. In which he was victorious, I should be at peace, and his power over me be at an end. If he were vanquished, I should be a free man, alas. What freedom! Such as a peasant enjoys when his family have been massacred before his eyes. His cottage burned, his lands laid waste, and he is turned adrift, homeless, penniless, and alone, but free. Such would be my liberty, except that in my Elizabeth I possessed a treasure, alas, balanced by those horrors of remorse and guilt which would pursue me until death. Sweet and beloved Elizabeth, I read and reread her letter, and some softened feelings stole into my heart and dared to whisper paradisial dreams of love and joy. But the apple was already eaten, and the angel's arm bare to drive me from all hope. Yet I would die to make her happy. If the monster executed his threat, death was inevitable. Yet again, I considered whether my marriage would hasten my fate. My destruction might indeed arrive a few months sooner. But if my torturer should suspect that I postponed it, influenced by his menace, he would surely find other and perhaps more dreadful means of revenge. He had vowed to be with me on my wedding night, yet he did not consider that threat as binding him to the peace in the meantime. For as if to show me that he was not yet satiated with blood, he had murdered Clerval immediately after the enunciation of his threats. I resolved, therefore, that if my immediate union with my cousin would conduce either to hers or my father's happiness, my adversary designs against my life should not retard it a single hour. In this state of mind, I wrote to Elizabeth. My letter was calm and affectionate. I fear, my beloved girl, I said, little happiness remains for us on earth. Yes, yet all that I may one day enjoy is centered in you. Chase away your idle fears. To you alone do I consecrate my life and my endeavors for contentment I have one secret, Elizabeth, a dreadful one. When revealed to you, it will chill your frame with horror, and then, far from being surprised at my misery, you will only wonder that I survive what I have endured. I will confide this tale of misery and terror to you the day after our marriage shall take place. For my sweet cousin, there must be perfect confidence between us, but until then, I conjure you, do not mention or allude to it. This I most earnestly entreat, and I know you will comply. In about a week after the arrival of Elizabeth's letter, we returned to Geneva. The sweet girl welcomed me with warm affection, yet tears were in her eyes as she beheld my emaciated frame and feverish cheeks. I saw a change in her also. She was thinner, and had lost much of that heavenly vivacity that had before charmed me. But her gentleness and soft looks of compassion made her a more fit companion for one blasted and miserable as I was. The tranquillity which I now enjoyed did not endure. Memory brought madness with it, and when I thought of what had passed, a real insanity possessed me. Sometimes I was furious and burned with rage, sometimes low and despondent. I neither spoke nor looked at anyone, but sat motionless, bewildered by the multitude of miseries that overcame me. Elizabeth alone had the power to draw me from these fits. Her gentle voice would soothe me when transported by passion, and inspire me with human feelings when sank in torpor. She wept with me and for me. When reason returned, she would remonstrate and endeavor to inspire me with resignation. Ah, it is well for the unfortunate to be resigned, but for the guilty there is no peace. The agonies of remorse poison the luxuries there is otherwise sometimes found in indulging the excess of grief. Soon after my arrival, my father spoke of my immediate marriage with Elizabeth. I remained silent. Have you, then, some other attachment? None on earth. I love Elizabeth, and look forward to our union with delight. Let the day therefore be fixed, and on it I will consecrate myself in life or death to the happiness of my cousin. Question, why do they call each other cousin when they're not related? And they're more like brother and sister? I'm so confused. Are they cousins? Are they related or are they not related? My dear Victor, do not speak thus. Heavy misfortunes have befallen us, but let us only cling closer to what remains and transfer our love for those whom we have lost to those who yet live. Our circle will be small, but bound close with the ties of affection and mutual misfortune. And when time shall have softened your despair, new and dear objects of care will be born to replace those of whom we have been so cruelly deprived. Such were the lessons of my father, but to me the remembrance of the threat returned. Nor can you wonder that, omnipotent as the fiend had yet been in his deeds of blood, I should almost regard him as invisible, and that when he had pronounced the words, "I shall be with you on your wedding night," I should regard the threatened fate as unavoidable. But death was no evil to me, if the loss of Elizabeth were balanced with it, and I therefore, with a contented and even cheerful countenance, agreed with my father that if my cousin would consent, the ceremony should take place in 10 days, and thus put, as I imagined, the seal to my fate. Great God! If for one instant I had thought what might be the hellish intention of my fiendish adversary, I would rather have banished myself forever from my native country, and wandered a friendless outcast over the earth, than have consented to this miserable marriage. But as if possessed of magic powers, the monsters had blinded me to his real intentions. And then I thought that I had prepared only my own death. I hastened that of a far dearer victim. As the period fixed for our marriage drew nearer, whether from cowardice or a prophetic feeling, I felt my heart sink within me. But I concealed my feelings by an appearance of hilarity that brought smiles and joy to the countenance of my father, but hardly deceived the ever watchful and nicer eye of Elizabeth. She looked forward to our union with placid contentment, not unmingled with a little fear, which past fortunes had impressed. Which past misfortunes had impressed, that what now appeared certain and tangible happiness might soon dissipate into an airy dream and leave no trace but deep and everlasting regret. Preparations were made for, let me just check, how far are we from 23? Not that far. Preparations were made for the event, congratulatory visits were received, and all wore a smiling appearance. I shut up, as well as I could, in my own heart, the anxiety that preyed there, and entered with seemingly earnestness into the plans of my father, although they might only serve as the decorations of my tragedy. Through my father's exertions, a part of the inheritance of Elizabeth had been restored to her by the Austrian government. A small possession on the shores of Como belonged to her. It was agreed that immediately after our union we should proceed to Villa Lavenza and spend our first days of happiness beside the beautiful lake near which it stood. In the meantime, I took every precaution to defend my person in case the fiend should openly attack me. I carried pistols and a dagger constantly about me, and was ever on the watch to prevent artifice, and by these means gained a greater degree of tranquillity. Indeed, as the period approached, the threat appeared more as a delusion, not to be regarded as worthy to disturb my peace, while the happiness I hoped for in my marriage wore a greater appearance of certainty, as the day fixed for its solemnization drew nearer, and I heard continually spoken of an occurrence which no accident could possibly prevent. Elizabeth seemed happy. My tranquil demeanor contributed greatly to calm her mind, but on the day that was to fulfill my wishes and my destiny, she was melancholy, and a presentiment of evil pervaded her. And perhaps also she thought of the dreadful secret which I had promised to reveal to her on the following day. My father was in the meantime overjoyed, and in the bustle of preparation, only recognized in the melancholy of his niece the diffidence of a bride. After the ceremony was performed, a large party assembled at my father's, but it was agreed that Elizabeth and I should commence our journey by water, sleeping that night at Evian, and continuing our voyage on the following day. The day was fair, the wind favorable, all smiled on our nuptial embarkation. Those were the last moments of my life, during which I enjoyed the feelings of happiness. We passed rapidly along. The sun was hot, but we were sheltered from its rays by a kind of canopy while we enjoyed the beauty of the scene. Sometimes on one side of the lake, where we saw Mont Salève, the pleasant banks of Montalegre, and at a distance surmounting all, the beautiful Mont Blanc, and the semblance of snowy mountains that in vain endeavored to emulate her. Sometimes, coasting the opposite banks, we saw the mighty Jura opposing its dark side to the ambition that would quit its native country, and an almost insurmountable barrier to the invader who should wish to enslave it. I took the hand of Elizabeth. "You are sorrowful, my love. Ah, if you knew what I have suffered, and what I have yet to endure, you would endeavor to let me taste the quiet and freedom from despair that this one day at least permits me to enjoy. Be happy, my dear Victor, replied Elizabeth. There is, I hope, nothing to distress you. And be assured that if a lively joy is not painted in my face, my heart is contented. Sometimes whispers to me not to depend too much on the prospect that is opened before us, but I will not listen to such a sinister voice. Observe how fast we move along, and how the clouds, which sometimes obscure and sometimes rise above the dome of Mont Blanc, render the scene of beauty still more interesting. Look also at the innumerable fish that are swimming in the clear waters, where we can distinguish every pebble that lies at the bottom. What a divine day! How happy and serene all nature appears! Thus Elizabeth endeavored to divert her thoughts and mine from all reflections upon melancholy subjects. But her temper was fluctuating. Joy for a few instants shone in her eyes, but it continually gave place to distraction and reverie. The sun sank lower in the heavens. We passed the river Drance, and observed its path through the chasms of the higher and the glens of the lower hills. The Alps here come closer to the lake, and we approached the amphitheater of mountains, which forms its eastern boundary. The spire of Evian shone under the woods that surrounded it, and the range of mountains above mountain by which it was overhung. Hello, Tangent, how are you today? The wind, which had hitherto carried us along with amazing rapidity, sank at sunset to a light breeze. The soft air just ruffled the water. Thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. And it caused a pleasant motion among the trees as we approached the shore, from which it wafted the most delightful scent of flowers and hay. The sun sank beneath the horizon as we landed, and as I touched the shore, I felt those cares and fears revive, which soon were to clasp me and cling to me forever. We're getting so close. We've got now about an hour, and we've got all of this. Oh god, oh god, oh god. It sounds like so little because it's like 2 chapters, but these 2 last chapters like are bloody immense. Like it's still this whole chunk. I'll do my best, but I really can't promise anything. I love being done with stuff, so I want to like be done with this book today. Not that I hate Frankenstein. Nice, good work. Thank you, thank you. I've been reading this book for... Isn't this the 9th episode? So 9 multiplied by 3. Oh my god. Brain. 27 hours, yes. Jesus Christ. Probably a bit more though. Maybe 30 hours. Yeah. Goodness. I mean, I don't actually know how many pages there are. Maybe 400? I think maybe more. I'm not sure. But yeah, welcome Tangent. This is my 2nd book I've read on this channel. Do you usually watch reading channels? How did you find me? I'm very curious how people find me. I've lost so many hours. Obsessed with writing currently. Nice. Oh really? What are you writing? I think I found you. You did find me. This is true. Mysterious pause. Yeah, how did you find it? I just searched writing a reading tab. Nice. Whoops. Cab, sorry. No, it's okay. Don't worry. Well, I'm glad that you found me. Hallelujah. I am very new to this, so I usually play Elder Scroll games. I'm very into that, but I'm like trying to get away from it. I'm finishing the games. I'm gonna do a lore stream, and then I'm kind of like trying to get away from it so I can do something new. I just don't know what. So I've just been reading, because I've always said that I want to read more, but like reading takes up so much time, like so much time. So I thought, why not stream it? You know, do two things that I want to do in one. So that's what I've been doing. Yeah, very fun. What kind of books do you read? And what are you writing? I'm very curious. I think I've met someone else before that is writing as well. It's very curious. I used to stream, hard to do it anymore. I haven't played a video game since middle of December when I started writing. It does so much time. I listen to audiobooks driving to and from work. Yeah, I am. Sorry, my partner came in. He's going to make me a tea. But yeah, I mean, I feel like nowadays, I watched a video on it recently and it did kind of open my eyes how nowadays it is so important to be productive, and I feel like that's just what you always see like on Instagram and everything, like people being productive, like people reading like fucking 100 books a year, or you know, learning how to draw, learning how to crochet, and they crochet like the craziest stuff, and it's just like, I don't know, I feel like it gives you a lot of pressure to be productive even in your free time, which can be like very exhausting, I think. So I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it does take so much time up, even though it's fun. Obviously you're having fun, but you also feel like this desire to finish it, so you can say, oh, I've read this many books in the year. Maybe that's just me, but that's what I always feel like when I start a book, I'm like, I need to finish this. Oh, I mean, not in the beginning obviously, but when I'm like halfway through. What games did you used to play? Just a cliche, purposely cheesy sci-fi romance novel. I read almost anything. Ooh. I see. When productivity leads to dopamine, it's the same as watching a TV show or playing a game. That's true, but I feel like productivity is a little bit harder because it's not like instant gratification. You know, with the TV show, you're like happy immediately because you're like playing it. And it's like not much effort, whereas being productive, you know, like learning a skill and everything, obviously it takes so much more time before that happens. Before you actually are good at something, you've actually achieved something and you get then that dopamine from it. So I feel like that's why it's so much harder to force yourself to do that, especially because you're already forcing yourself to work. And then you have to force yourself to do something else in your free time as well. Minecraft, Skyrim, Space Engineers, tons of other games. Damn, okay. And you've just like chosen not to do it anymore because you want to write, I guess. That's fair. Yeah, you just have to get past expecting yourself to be good at it. That's true. That's the hard part. But that's really exciting. So you're writing a cheesy sci-fi romance novel. Interesting. How much do you have already? Have you written a lot, or are you still in the early drafts? No, just fall out of the habit. It's time consuming, like you said. It really is. It really is. Yeah. Yeah. $102K words, about 30. Oh my god, that's loads, dude. Wow. Since December. Wow. That's crazy. Are you going to actually like publish it, or what are you going to do with it? It's become an obsession. Hey, but that's a healthy obsession. That's really fun. Like, that's really creative. If it does suck when I'm done. What do you mean? If it doesn't suck. Oh, I see. Well, I mean, I suppose, like, let your friends read it first, see what they think and stuff, and then take it from there, I suppose. What is it called? I'm really curious. Did you, like... Ooh, I feel like, a sci-fi cheesy romance. I wonder how sci-fi it gets. I'm very curious. Because you've got, I've seen like a lot of people that come up with like a whole different world and a different language and different traditions and stuff, and I think that's crazy. That must like require so much creativity. My wife is going to run through it a couple of times for editing. Beta reading are hard to get because sci-fi cheesy romance is pretty niche. Thank you. Okay. What's that?
Orange juice.
Oh, I see. Well, who knows? There might be an audience for it. Very cool. Well, keep at it, you know? Keep at it. Who knows? It might be crazy popular. Yes, that was Koopsie. He has given me tea. I asked him earlier. He has stolen my water though. You never brought it back. I'm so sad. I guess I'll just have to wait till this tea is colder. I am munching on some snacks before getting back to editing. Nice. What are you munching on? But yeah, we should probably get back to reading. My plan is to finish this book today, like I said. And we've got loads left. I usually stream about like 3 hours. That's kind of my comfortable zone. Read! Oh my god. Demanding. Yeah, 3 hours is usually my comfortable zone because after that I'm like way too tired and my tailbone hurts. So, yes. Here we go. Chapter 23. It was 8 o'clock when we landed. We walked for a short time on the shore, enjoying the transitory light, and then retired to the inn and contemplated the lovely scene of waters, woods, and mountains obscured in darkness, yet still displaying their black outlines. The wind, which had fallen in the south, now rose with great violence in the west. The moon had reached her summit in the heavens, and was beginning to descend. The clouds swept across it swifter than the flight of the vulture, and dimmed her rays, while the lake reflected the scene of the busy heavens, rendered still busy by the restless waves that were beginning to rise. Suddenly, a heavy storm of rain descended. I had been calm during the day, but so soon as night obscured the shapes of objects, 1,000 fears arose in my mind. I was anxious and watchful, while my right hand grasped a pistol which was hidden in my bosom. Every sound terrified me, but I resolved that I would sell my life dearly and not shrink from the conflict until my own life or that of my adversary was extinguished. Elizabeth observed my agitation for some time in timid and fearful silence, but there was something in my glance which communicated terror to her, and trembling, she asked, "What is it that agitates you, my dear Victor? What is it you fear?" "Oh, peace, peace, my love," replied I. "This night and all will be safe, but this night is dreadful, very dreadful." I passed an hour in this state of mind, when suddenly I reflected how fearful the combat which I momentarily expected would be to my wife, and I earnestly entreated her to retire, resolving not to join her until I had obtained some knowledge as to the situation of my enemy. She left me, and I continued some time walking up and down the passages of the house and inspecting every corner that might afford a retreat to my adversary. But I discovered no trace of him, and was beginning to conjecture that some fortunate chance had intervened to prevent the execution of his menaces, when suddenly I heard a shrill and dreadful scream. It came from the room into which Elizabeth had retired. As I heard it, the whole truth rushed into my mind. My arms dropped. The motion of every muscle and fibre was suspended. I could feel the blood trickling in my veins and tingling in the extremities of my limbs. This state lasted but for an instant. The scream was repeated, and I rushed into the room. Great God! Why did I not then expire? Why am I here to relate the destruction of the best hope and the purest creature on earth? She was there, lifeless and inanimate, thrown across the bed, her head hanging down, and her pale and distorted features half covered by her hair. Everywhere I turn, I see the same figure, her bloodless arms and relaxed form flung by the murderer on its bridal bier. Could I behold this and live? Alas, life is obstinate, and clings closest where it is most hated. For a moment only did I lose recollection. I fell senseless on the ground. When I recovered, I found myself surrounded by the people of the inn. Their countenance expressed a breathless terror, but the horror of others appeared only as a mockery, a shadow of the feelings that oppressed me. I escaped from them to the room where lay the body of Elizabeth, my love, my wife, so lately living, so dear, so worthy. She had been moved from the posture in which I had first beheld her, and now, as she lay, her head upon her arm, and a handkerchief thrown across her face and neck, I might have supposed her asleep. I rushed towards her and embraced her with ardor, but the deadly languor and coldness of the limbs told me that what I now held in my arms had ceased to be Elizabeth, whom I had loved and cherished. The murderer's mark on the fiend's grasp was on her neck, and the breath had ceased to issue from her lips. Dude, why did he not tell her? This is so annoying. He knew this thing was coming. He knew this monster was coming to kill them. He literally was nice enough to say, hey, on your wedding night. And he's like not telling her what's gonna happen. And he's just like, yeah, go to bed, it's fine. And then he's surprised she gets killed in her bedchamber. Like, what the fuck do you expect that? Oh my god. Oh my god. This is so ridiculous. This is so ridiculous. You should have told her. What the hell? Okay. This is so stupid. He should have... What a dummy. What a dummy, guys. I exclaim, he's a dummy. He got his cousin bride killed. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Outrageous. And he didn't even try to fight her. Oh my god. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna fight him. I've got guns. I've got a knife. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And then he didn't do anything. Disgraceful. Honestly, this guy. While I still hung over her in the agony of despair, I happened to look up. The windows of the room have before been darkened, and I felt a kind of panic on seeing the pale yellow light of the moon illuminate the chamber. The shutters had been thrown back, and with a sensation of horror not to be described, I saw at the open window a figure the most hideous and abhorrent. A grin was on the face of the monster. He seemed to jeer as with his fiendish finger he pointed towards the corpse of my wife. I rushed towards the window, and drawing a pistol from my bosom, fired, but he eluded me, leapt from his station, and running with the swiftness of lightning, plunged into the lake. The report of the pistol brought a crowd into the room. I pointed to the spot where he had disappeared, and we followed the track with boats. Nets were cast, but in vain. After passing several hours, we returned hopeless, most of my companions believing it to have been a form conjured up by my fancy. After having landed, they proceeded to search the country, parties going in different directions among the woods and the vines. I attempted to accompany them and proceeded a short distance from the house, but my head whirled round. My steps were like those of a drunken man. I fell at last in a state of utter exhaustion. A film covered my eyes, and my skin was parched with the heat of fever. In this state I was carried back and placed on a bed, hardly conscious of what had happened. My eyes wandered round the room as if to seek something that I had lost. Well, you did. Alright, skill-wise, I've got a couple of nice ones in storage. Now to make a couple good ones that wise and try to get something good out of this. Nice, nice. Solid progress, wise man. Good for you. Yes, very good, very good. After an interval, I arose, and as if by instinct, crawled into the room where the corpse of my beloved lay. There were women weeping around. I hung over it and joined my sad tears to theirs. All this time no distinct idea presented itself to my mind, but my thoughts rambled to various subjects, reflecting confusedly on my misfortunes and their cause. I was bewildered in a cloud of wonder and horror. The death of William, the execution of Justine, the murder of Clerval, and lastly of my wife. Even at that moment I knew not that my only remaining friends were safe from the malignity of the fiend. My father, even now, might be writhing under his grasp, and Ernest might be dead at his feet. This idea made me shudder. It recalled me to action. I started up and resolved to return to Geneva with all possible speed. There were no horses to be procured, and I must return by the lake. But the wind was unfavorable, and the rain fell in torrents. However, it was hardly morning, and I might reasonably hope to arrive by night. I hired men to row, and took an oar myself, for I had always experienced relief from mental torment in bodily exercise. But the overflowing misery I now felt, and the excess of agitation that I endured, rendered me incapable of any exertion. I threw down the oar, and leaning my head upon my hands, gave way to every gloomy idea that arose. If I looked up, I saw scenes which were familiar to me in my happier time, and which I had contemplated but the day before in the company of her, who was now but a shadow and a recollection. Tears streamed from my eyes. The rain had ceased for a moment, and I saw the fish play in the water, as they had done a few hours before. They had then been observed by Elizabeth. Nothing is so painful to the human mind as a great and sudden change. The sun might shine or the clouds might lower, but nothing could appear to me as it had done the day before. A fiend had snatched from me every hope of future happiness. No creature had ever been so miserable as I was. No so frightful an event is single in the history of man. But why should I dwell upon the incidents that followed this last overwhelming event? Mine has been a tale of horrors. I have reached their acme, and what I must now relate can but be tedious to you. Know that, one by one, my friends were snatched away. I was left desolate. My own strength is exhausted, and I must tell, in a few words, what remains of my hideous narration. I arrived at Geneva. My father and Ernest yet lived, but the former sunk under the tidings that I bore. I see him now, excellent and venerable old man. His eyes wandered in vacancy, for they had lost their charm and their light. His Elizabeth, his more than daughter, whom he doted on with all that affection which a man feels, whom in the decline of life, having few affections, clings more earnestly to those that remain. Cursed be the fiend that brought misery on his grey hairs, and doomed him to waste and wretchedness. He could not live under the horrors that were accumulated around him. The springs of existence suddenly gave way. He was unable to rise from his bed, and in a few days, he died in my arms. My goodness. It's all going down, guys. Everybody's dead. What then became of me? I know not. I lost sensation, and chains and darkness were the only object that pressed upon me. Sometimes, indeed, I dreamt that I wandered in flowery meadows and in pleasant vales with the friends of my youth, but I awoke and found myself in a dungeon. Melancholy followed, but by degrees I gained a clear conception of my miseries and sensation. I was then released from my prison, for they had called me mad, and during many months, as I understood, a solitary cell had been my habitation. Liberty, however, had been a useless gift to me, had I not, as I awakened to reason, at the same time awakened to revenge. As the memory of past misfortunes pressed upon me, I began to reflect on their cause. The monster whom I had created, the miserable daemon whom I had sent abroad into the world for my destruction, I was possessed by a maddening rage when I thought of him, and desired and ardently prayed that I might have him within my grasp to wreak a great and signal revenge on his cursed head. Nor did my hate long confine itself to useless wishes. I began to reflect on the best means of securing him, and for this purpose, about a month after my release, I repaired to a criminal judge in the town and told him that I had an accusation to make, that I knew the destroyer of my family, and that I required him to exert his whole authority for the apprehension of the murderer. The magistrate listened to me with attention and kindness. "Be assured, sir," said he, "no pains or exertions on my part shall be spared to discover the villain." "I thank you," replied I. "Listen, therefore, to the disposition that I have to make. It is indeed a tale so strange that I should fear you would not credit it were there not something in truth which, however wonderful, forces conviction. The story is too connected to be mistaken for a dream, and I have no motive for falsehood. My manner as I thus addressed him was impressive, but calm. I had formed in my own heart a resolution to pursue my destroyer to death, and this purpose quieted my agony, and for an interval reconciled me to life. I now related my history briefly, but with firmness and precision, marking the dates with accuracy, and never deviating into invective and or exclamation. Goodness. The magistrate appeared. Blah blah blah. Oh goodness, I'm tripping over my words. The magistrate appeared at first perfectly incredulous, but as I continued, he became more attentive and interested. I saw him sometimes shudder with horror, at others a lovely surprise, unmingled with disbelief, was painted on his countenance. When I had concluded my narration, I said, "This is the being whom I accuse, for whose seizure and punishment I shall call upon you to exert your whole power. It is your duty as a magistrate, and I believe and hope that your feelings as a man will not revolt from the execution of those functions on this occasion." Tea time. Still a bit hot. I thought it would be cold by now. Well, colder, so it's drinkable. But no. This address caused a considerable change in the physiognomy of my own auditor. He had heard my story with that half kind of belief that is given to a tale of spirits and supernatural events, but when he was called upon to act officially in consequence, the whole tide of his incredulity returned. He, however, answered mildly, I would willingly afford you every aid in your pursuit, but the creature of whom you speak appears to have powers which would put all my exertions to defiance. Who can follow an animal which can traverse a sea of ice and inhabit caves and dens where no man would venture to intrude? Besides, some months have elapsed since the commission of his crimes, and no one can conjecture to what place he has wandered, or what region he may now inhabit. I do not doubt that he hovers near the spot which I inhabit, and if he has indeed taken refuge in the Alps, he may be hunted like the Kama and destroyed as a beast of prey. But I perceive your thoughts. You do not credit my narrative, and do not intend to pursue my enemy with the punishment which is his desert. As I spoke, rage sparked in my mind. Oh my god. As I spoke, rage sparkled in my eyes. The magistrate was intimidated. You are mistaken, said he. I will exert myself, and if it is in my power to seize the monster, be assured that he shall suffer punishment proportionate to his crimes. Hello, Tennyson. Welcome. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. But I fear, from what you have yourself described to be his properties, that this will... Sorry, I'm struggling right now. That this will prove impracticable. And thus, while every proper measure is pursued, you should make up your mind to disappointment. That cannot be, but all that I can say will be of little avail. My revenge is of no moment to you, yet, while I allow it to be a vice, I confess that it is the devouring and only passion of my soul. My rage is unspeakable when I reflect the murderer whom I have turned loose upon society still exists. You refuse my just demand. I have but one resource, and I devote myself, either in my life or death, to his destruction. I trembled with excess of agitation. As I said this, there was a frenzy in my manner, and something, I doubt not, of that haughty fierceness which the martyr of old are said to have possessed. But to a Genevan magistrate, whose mind was occupied by far other ideas than those of devotion and heroism, this elevation of mind had much the appearance of madness. He endeavored to soothe me as a nurse does a child, and reverted to my tale as the effects of delirium. Man, I cried, how ignorant art thou in thy pride of wisdom! Cease, you know not what it is you say. I broke from the house angry and disturbed, and retired to meditate on some other mode of action. We have made it to chapter 24. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I'm good to sip my tea and take off this hand. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you haven't fallen asleep. My tailbone is really, really struggling today. I think it's because I've been like sitting so much. What are you doing? Finish the book. What do you mean? I'm just taking the hand off my head and drinking tea. Don't get mad right away. I'm just like having a little break, that's all. I can't share my desktop when I like tab out, because I dox myself if I do that, so I can't do that. I haven't changed it yet because I don't know how to. Yes. Doxing is bad. But let's see how long this one is. Can't you dox yourself a little as a trick? I don't want to dox myself. What do you mean? I've already done it accidentally like so many times, dude. And it's time for me to stop. Glad you finally figured out doxing is bad. I already knew doxing is bad. It's just really hard to like not dox myself. Like sometimes it will be in places that I didn't expect it to be, and then it's like, fuck, you know, and then it's happened, and then there's nothing to do about it, okay? Oh shit, why are we in chapter oh my god. Help! Oh my god, we've gone back. Why have we gone back? Because I zoomed in. Oh my god, what is happening? Oh, here we are. Glad you guys are still awake. I reckon Soy has fallen asleep by now. But good, you know, that means my voice is calming. Great, great, very good, very good. This is supposedly the last chapter. I hope it actually is. I think it is. Chapter 24. Soy is an old man. No, he's a hard-working man is what he is. My present situation was one in which all voluntary thought was swallowed up and lost. I was hurried away by fury. Revenge alone endowed me with strength and composure. It molded my feelings and allowed me to be calculating and calm at periods when otherwise delirium or death would have been my portion. My first resolution was to quit Geneva forever. My country, which when I was happy and beloved, was dear to me, now in my adversity became hateful. I provided myself with a sum of money, together with a few jewels which had belonged to my mother, and departed. And now my wanderings began, which are to cease but with life. I had traversed a vast portion of the earth, and have endeavored all the hardships which travelers in deserts and barbarous countries are wont to meet. How I have lived I hardly know. Many times have I stretched my failing limbs upon the sandy plain and prayed for death, but revenge kept me alive. I dared not die and leave my adversary in being. When I quitted Geneva, my first labor was to gain some clue by which I might trace the steps of my fiendish enemy. Hello, Shadow. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Welcome, welcome. But my plan was unsettled, and I wandered many hours round the confines of the town, uncertain what path I should pursue. As night approached, I found myself at the entrance of the cemetery where William, Elizabeth, and my father reposed. I entered it and approached the tomb which marked their graves. Everything was silent except the leaves of the trees, which were gently agitated by the wind. Oh no, this is not my story. Don't worry. No, this is not my story. This is Frankenstein. Sorry, I probably should put it in. Usually I put it in a title, and today I didn't because I actually don't remember what episode we're on. I think 9, maybe? I'll put 9. I'll change it later. But yeah, no, this is Frankenstein. Yeah, no, I could never write this epic of a story. That'd be insane. I'm just doing reading because it's not like a specific category for just reading, so I've put it on writing and reading. Yes, yes. But thank you for thinking that I did. As night approached, I found myself at the entrance of the cemetery where William, Elizabeth, and my father reposed. I entered it and approached the tomb which marked their graves. Everything was silent except the leaves of the trees, which were gently agitated by the wind. The night was nearly dark, and the scene would have been solemn and affecting even to an uninterested observer. The spirits of the departed seemed to flit around and to cast a shadow, which was felt but not seen, around the head of the mourner. The deep grief which this scene had at first excited quickly gave way to rage and despair. They were dead, and I lived. Their murderer also lived, and to destroy him I must drag out my weary existence. I knelt on the grass and kissed the earth, and with quivering lips exclaimed, "By the sacred earth on which I kneel, by the shades that wander near me, by the deep and eternal grief that I feel, I swear, and by thee, O night, and the spirits that preside over thee, to pursue the daemon who caused this misery, until he or I shall perish in mortal conflict. For this purpose I will preserve my life, to execute this dear revenge, while I again behold the sun, and tread the green herbage of earth, which otherwise should vanish from my eyes forever. And I call on you, spirits of the dead, and on you, wandering ministers of vengeance, to aid and conduct me in my work. Let the cursed and hellish monster drink deep of agony. Let him feel the despair that now torments me. I had begun my adjuration with solemnity and an awe which almost assured me that the shades of my murdered friends heard and approved my devotion. But the furies possessed me as I concluded, and rage choked my utterance. I was answered through the stillness of night by a loud and fiendish laugh. It rang on my ears long and heavily. The mountains re-echoed it, and I felt as if all hell surrounded me with mockery and laughter. Surely in that moment I should have been possessed by frenzy and have destroyed my miserable existence, but that my vow was heard and that I was reserved for vengeance. The laughter died away when a well-known and abhorred voice, apparently close to my ear, addressed me in an audible whisper. I am satisfied, miserable wretch. You have determined to live, and I am satisfied. I darted towards the spot from which the sound proceeded, but the devil eluded my grasp. Suddenly the broad disk of the moon arose and shone full upon his ghastly and distorted shape as he fled with more than mortal speed. I pursued him, and for many months this has been my task. Guided by a slight clue, I followed the windings of the Rhone, but vainly the blue Mediterranean appeared, and by a strange chance I saw the fiend enter by night and hide himself in a vessel bound for the Black Sea. I took my passage in the same ship, but he escaped, I know not how. Amidst the wilds of Tartary and Russia, although he still evaded me, I have ever followed in his track. Sometimes the peasants, scarred by this horrid apparition, informed me of his path. Sometimes he himself, who feared that if I lost all trace of him I should despair and die, left some mark to guide me. The snows descended on my head, and I saw the print of his huge step on the white plain. To you first entering on life, to whom care is new and agony unknown, how can you understand what I have felt and still feel? Cold, want, and fatigue were the least pains which I was destined to endure. I was cursed by some devil, and carried about with me my eternal hell. Yet still a spirit of good followed and directed my steps, and when I most murmured, would suddenly extricate me from seemingly insurmountable difficulties. Sometimes, when nature overcome by hunger, sank under the exhaustion, a repast was prepared for me in the desert that restored and inspirited me. The fare was indeed coarse, such as the peasants of the country ate, but I will not doubt that it was set there by the spirits that I had invoked to aid me. Often, when all was dry, the heavens cloudless, and I parched by thirst, a slight cloud would bedden the sky, shed the few drops that revived me, and vanish. I followed when I could the courses of the rivers, but the daemon generally avoided these, as it was here that the population of the country chiefly collected. In other places human beings were seldom seen, and I generally subsided on the wild animals that crossed my path. I had money with me, and gained the friendship of the villagers by distributing it. Or I brought with me some food that I had killed, which, after taking a small part, I always presented to those who had provided me with fire and utensils for cooking. Goodness. My life, as it passed thus, was indeed hateful to me, and it was during sleep alone that I could taste joy. Oh, blessed sleep! Often when most miserable, I sank to repose, and my dreams lulled me even to rapture. The spirits that guarded me had provided these moments, or rather hours, of happiness, that I might retain strength to fulfill my pilgrimage. Deprived of this respite, I should have sunk under my hardships. During the day I was sustained and inspirited by the hope of night, for in sleep I saw my friends, my wife, and my beloved country again. I saw the benevolent countenance of my father, heard the silver tones of my Elizabeth's voice, and beheld Clerval enjoying health and youth. Often, when wearied by a toilsome march, I persuaded myself that I was dreaming until night should come, and that I should then enjoy reality in the arms of my dearest friends. What agonizing fondness did I feel for them! How did I cling to their dear forms, as sometimes they haunted even my waking hours, and persuade myself that they lived! At such moments vengeance that burned within me died in my heart, and I pursued my path towards destruction of the daemon more as a task enjoined by heavens, as a mechanical impulse of some power of which I was unconscious, than as the ardent desire of my soul. What his feelings were, whom I pursued, I cannot know. Sometimes, indeed, he left marks in writing on the barks of the trees, or cut in stone that guided me, and instigated my fury. My reign is not yet over. These words were legible in one of these inscriptions. You live, and my power is complete. Follow me, I seek the everlasting ices of the north. Well, where will you feel the misery of cold and frost, to which I am impassive? You will find near this place, if you follow not too tardily, a dead hare. Eat and be refreshed. Come on, my enemy. We have yet to wrestle for our lives, but many hard and miserable hours must you endure until that period shall arrive. Now I am wondering if there is a different category for reading. I don't think there is, not that I could find anyway. Yeah, I don't think so. This is the best one I found. Scoffing devil, again do I vow vengeance, again do I devote thee, miserable fiend, to torture and death. Never will I give up my search until he or I perish, and then with what ecstasy shall I join my Elizabeth and my departed friends, who even now prepare for me the reward of my tedious toil and horrible pilgrimage. As I still pursued my journey to the northward, the snows thickened and the cold increased in a degree almost too severe to support. The peasants were shut up in their hovels, and only a few of the most hardily ventured forth to seize animals whom starvation had forced from their hiding places to seek for prey. The rivers were covered with ice, and no fish could be procured, and thus I was cut off from my chief article of maintenance. The triumph of my enemy increased with the difficulty of my labors. One inscription, hello Savage, how are you? One inscription that he left was in these words. Prepare, your toils only begin. Wrap yourself in furs and provide food, for we shall soon enter upon a journey where your sufferings will satisfy my everlasting hatred. My courage and perseverance were invigorated by those scoffing words. I resolved not to fail in my purpose, and calling on heaven to support me, I continue with unabated fervor to traverse immense deserts until the ocean appeared at a distance and formed the utmost boundary of the horizon. Oh, how unlike it was to the blue seasons of the south! Covered with ice, it was only to be distinguished from land by its superior wildness and ruggedness. The Greeks wept for joy when they beheld the Mediterranean from the hills of Asia, and I knelt down and with a full heart thanked my guiding spirit for conducting me in safety to the place where I hoped, notwithstanding my adversary Gybe, to meet and grapple with him. Me good, you? That's great. I'm okay. I'm just chilling. Just trying to finish this book today, and yeah, for the rest, not much going on. I'm not sure if this is like a continuation of the book or because it says wait, Walton in continuation. Like, does that mean? Yeah, I don't know. That's good. Yeah. Just chilling. What have you been up to this weekend? Did you have a good weekend? Some weeks before this period, I had procured a sledge and dogs, and thus traversed the snows with inconceivable speed. I know not whether the fiend possessed the same advantages, but I found that, as before I had daily lost ground in the pursuit, I now gained on him. So much so that when I first saw the ocean, he was but 1 day's journey in advance, and I hoped to intercept him before he should reach the beach. With new courage, therefore, I pressed on, and in 2 days arrived at a wretched hamlet on the seashore. I inquired of the inhabitants concerning the fiend and gained accurate information. A gigantic monster, they said, had arrived the night before, armed with a gun and many pistols, putting to flight the inhabitants of the solitary cottage through fear of his terrific appearance. He had carried off their store of winter food, and placing it in a sledge to draw which he had seized on a numerous drove of trained dogs. He had harnessed them, and the same night, to the joy of the horror-struck villagers, had pursued his journey across the sea in a direction that led to no land, and they conjectured that he must speedily be destroyed by the breaking of the ice or frozen by the eternal frosts. It's been too cold to do anything, just been inside, bored. That's fair. No, it is really cold, isn't it? It's still very wintry. Has it snowed over there? It's still not snowed over here, but it's super cold every time. I mean, it says it's like 8 degrees, but it still feels the same as it was before. Because I think it got up to -2 here at one point. Yeah, it snowed last month. Oh, I see. Yeah, it hasn't snowed here. It has snowed in England, but like not exactly where we are, so that's sad. Well, not much longer before the spring, so we'll be okay. On hearing this information, I suffered a temporary access of despair. He had escaped me, and I must commence a destructive and almost endless journey across the mountainous ices of the ocean, amidst cold that few of the inhabitants could long endure, and which I, the native of a genial and sunny climate, could not hope to survive. Yet at the idea that the fiend should live and be triumphant, my rage and vengeance returned, and like a mighty tide overwhelmed every other feeling. After a slight repose, during which the spirits of the dead hovered round and instigated me to toil and revenge, I prepared for my journey. I examined my land sledge for one fashioned for the inequalities of the frozen ocean, and purchasing a plentiful stock of provisions, I departed from land. I cannot guess how many days have passed since then, but I have endured misery which nothing but the eternal sentiment of a just retribution burning within my heart could have enabled me to support. Immense and rugged mountains of ice often barred up my passage, and I often heard the thunder of the ground sea, which threatened my destruction. But again the frost came and made the paths of the sea secure. By the quantity of provision which I had consumed, I should guess that I had passed 3 weeks in this journey, and the continual protraction of hope, returning back upon the heart, often wrung bitter drops of despondency and grief from my eyes. Despair had indeed almost secured her prey, and I should soon have sunk beneath this misery. Soon after, the poor animals that conveyed me had with incredible toil gained the summit of the sloping ice mountain, and one, sinking under his fatigue, died. I viewed the expense before me with anguish, when suddenly my eyes caught a dark speck upon the dusky plain. I strained my sight to discover what it could be, and uttered a wild cry of ecstasy when I distinguished a sledge and the distorted proportions of a well-known form within. Oh, with what a burning gush did hope revisit my heart! Warm tears filled my eyes, which I hastily wiped away, that they might not intercept the view I had of the daemon, but still my sight was dimmed by the burning drops, until, giving way to the emotions that oppressed me, I wept aloud. Yeah, I can't wait for spring. Well, to be honest, I really enjoyed seeing snow and everything. I'm just sad it didn't stay where I am right now. Like, it would have been really cozy. I like snow. I think it's not too bad, you know? But spring is also really nice, all the flowers and everything. I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to it raining less. Like, my plants outside are like dead. They've just been drowned. I wish I put them inside when I should have, really, and then they might have survived. Oh well, I know it for next time. I've never had outside ones before. But yeah, can't wait for all the flowers and the bees and things. But this was not the time for delay. I disencumbered the dogs of their dead companion, gave them a plentiful portion of food, and after an hour's rest, which was absolutely necessary, and which was bitterly irksome to me, I continued my route. The sledge was still visible, nor did I again lose sight of it except at the moments when for a short time some ice rock concealed it with its intervening crags. I indeed perceptibly gained on it, and when after nearly 2 days' journey I beheld my enemy at no more than a mile distance, my heart bounded within me. But now, when I appeared almost within grasp of my foe, my hopes were suddenly extinguished, and I lost all trace of him more utterly than I had ever done before. A ground sea was heard, the thunder of its progress, as the water rolled and swelled beneath me, became every moment more ominous and terrific. I pressed on, but in vain. The wind arose, the sea roared, and as if with the mighty shock of an earthquake, it split and cracked with a tremendous and overwhelming sound. The work was soon finished. In a few minutes, a tumultuous sea rolled between me and my enemy, and I was left drifting on a scattered piece of ice that was continually lessening and thus preparing me for a hideous death. In this manner, many appalling hours passed. Several of my dogs died, and I myself was about to sink under the accumulation of distress, when I saw my vessel riding at anchor and holding forth to me hopes of succor and life. I had no conception that vessels ever came so far north. I was astonished at the sight. I quickly destroyed part of my sledge to construct oars, and by these means was enabled, with infinite fatigue, to move my ice raft in the direction of your ship. I had determined, if you were going southward, still to trust myself to the mercy of the seas, rather than abandon my purpose. I hoped to induce you to grant me a boat with which I could pursue my enemy. But your direction was northward. You took me on boards when my vigor was exhausted, and I should soon have sunk under my multiplied hardships into a death which I still dread, for my task is unfulfilled. Oh, when will my guiding spirit in conducting me to the daemon allow me the rest I so much deserve, or must I die and he yet live? If I do, swear to me, Walton, that he shall not escape, that you will seek him and satisfy my vengeance in his death. And do I dare to ask of you to undertake my pilgrimage, to endure the hardship that I have undergone? No, I am not so selfish. Yet when I am dead, if he should appear, if the ministers of vengeance should conduct him to you, swear that he shall not live. Swear that he shall not triumph over my accumulated woes and survive to add to the list of his dark crimes. He is eloquent and persuasive, and once his words had even power over my heart, but trust him not. His soul is as hellish as his form, full of treachery and fiend-like malice. Hear him not. Call on the names of William, Justine, Clerval, Elizabeth, my father, and of the wretched Victor, and trust your sword into his heart. I will hover near and direct the steel aright. Goodness, I think so. Then we have like a bunch of Walton in continuation. So Walton is the guy that saved him. So I'm guessing this is him just like talking about it to his companions in a way of like saying what happened to him. So I don't think it's finished yet. But this is not very much. So I reckon maybe on Wednesday, before we do any gaming, I'll read the rest of this, and then it's finished. Hallelujah. We had snow for a few weeks. Nobody in my area bothered to clear even a small path, so it was just constant anxiety about falling on my ass. Oh, I bet. Yeah, that is a bit scary. The slipperiness is lethal. But yeah. I'm just gonna copy this and put it over here so we can read it further on Wednesday, I think, because I'm starting to stream at 4 and I'll just finish reading it there. Yeah. Just putting it in the channel now. We got up to chapter 24. We got up to chapter 24. Last reading on Wednesday. Do you feel like raiding out? No, sorry. I don't really like raiding. My friend Emslia is playing Hytale if you want to check it out. Well, I know Emslia. You've made me raid her before. But I'd rather not. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you enjoyed that. I think after I finish it on Wednesday, I might just stop reading, I think, because not everyone enjoys it, and yeah, I think yeah, I'll at least take a break from it. I think we've read 2 books now. So yeah, I think we might switch to something else. Obviously, we still have to see how the poll turns out. It's still on Catherine Classic. So I'm guessing it's gonna be Catherine Classic. I didn't know that many people were fans of it, to be honest. Oh, Red Dead Redemption also has 5 votes. What? Where did that come from? That seems out of nowhere. I see. Well, it's either Claire Obscure. Sorry, it's either Catherine Classic or Red Dead Redemption, apparently. And for the rest, we've also got Stellar Blade and Final Fantasy. Yeah. I'm sure we can find a way to make reading streams more interesting to other parts of the community. I don't know. I don't think so. But thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for the stream. Good night. Can I say? But yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Eat enough, sleep enough, all that very important. If you don't, I will be on the walls. Also, people in the reading club, remember the reading club is coming together on the 2nd of February. We will decide on a time, but don't forget, you almost need to be finished with your book. So, yes. Good night, everyone. Have a good time. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.